Hello and welcome to the Clashing of Steel. So today I am doing a review on Alexander the Great. He's a Greece-based cavalry commander, and as usual I'll start off with the skills. For the first skill, Alexander has the hammer. It is a charge that works both with infantry and cavalry. It can be upgraded towards impact damage, movement speed and recharge time. It is practically the bread and butter of the shock cavalry. So for the second skill, Alexander has the Anvil. It works also with melee infantry and cavalry. It reduces the opponent's speed, reduces their charge deflect, defense, and even silences the opponents. It can be upgraded to have better recharge time, longer active duration, and even to reduce more melee defense of the opponents. And for the third and final skill, Alexander has the Wedge. It's a cavalry-based ability. It forms your cavalry in a wedge formation. It has a 3-second wind-up time. It gives you impact damage and charge impact damage, while at the same time reducing your defense. It can be upgraded towards impact damage, movement speed and recharge time. So enough about the commander skills, let's head over to gameplay. Well, although Alexander has possibilities to play infantry and cavalry combined, I usually prefer to go for cavalry. It can work, but there are a few moments when you can make it work perfectly, or at least to make it work you need some form of teamwork. Before the update 2.4, the Anvil was only infantry based ability. It was a short range targeted skill that made opponents lose control of their abilities and forced to attack the unit you engaged them with or activated the skill with. Right now it is a viable support tool that weakens the opponent and gives you an edge against them. So before I head a bit deeper into the tactics, there are a few things we need to note about Alexander's shock cavalry. Shock cavalry hasn't got shields and don't have any form of arrow block. They will take a lot of damage from the archer fire and will suffer heavy casualties. In previous videos I may have told you to stack your units for the bigger impact damage. Yes, it can work, but then again you can be an easy target for any type of ranged units. So with the cavalry you're going to look for openings you can use, either to take down ranged units or just to flank the opponents from the rear. So as you can see, the spear infantry pulled back and gave him an opening to go in. Now I can go after the javelins. Javelins can do a lot of damage, but then again I can do a lot of damage towards them. Well, this is a stacked charge. Although some of my units collided, a lot of them went in and did huge impact damage. So because the spearmen are coming towards me, I need to disengage. I can't fight off spears with cavalry. Spears and pikes are my biggest enemies. Archers as well, but those can be countered in some situations. Stacking charge can do a lot of damage. But the problem is that you're coming in from one direction. That also means that the opponents can turn towards you, and charge from the front is a lot weaker than the charge from the rear or the sides. If you spread your units out and come in from different directions around the opponent, let's say front and back, the charge impact in overall can be a bit bigger. Well, I actually have another situation where you can support your team members, especially your ranged units. I have never seen any other cavalry done this type of support that I'm doing right now. As you can see, the Germanicus is in the studio. Right now I'm using Wedge and charging in. I got a small drop on him, so I did some damage and I forced him out of the studio. Now the ranged units can harass him. This is actually how cavalry can help your ranged. They can go in, force Germanicus out of his testudo, pull back out and let the archers, slingers or any other type of ranged units finish them off. You can also fake charge or bait your opponents. As you see right here, I went close, he used charge and I pulled back out. Well, now I'm moving towards the other swordsman. If they should use the testudo, I will do the same tactic again. As you see, my units are stacked in a wedge formation. I actually get a chance here because he's focusing on the slingers, so I go in with my stacked units and charge. Well, the damage was huge, but I don't want to stay engaged. I don't need to stay engaged because I can't withstand melee combat. The problem with Alexander is that his units aren't reliable in melee fights. The main thing going for Alexander is the charge and the impact damage of it. It seems that the Wedge has been made a lot better since I last played it around a month or 2 months ago. Because the last time I played it, or the last video I made of it, I felt that the Wedge didn't make as much of a difference, so losing your melee defense wasn't viable in that situation. So that was pretty much my stacked gameplay. Here I spread a bit more out and try to be a bit more on the harassing side. I usually don't suggest going into the forest because you get some penalties there, especially the movement speed. So your charges and impacts are gonna be a bit weaker. I'm actually using one of my cavalries to scare the opponent's cavalry away back up there. That is because I don't want them to go after the catapults under the watchtower. I do not stay on the watchtower because my focus shifted, and I'm using my units right now to support here the best I can. The both melee infantries fighting here are Germanicus. The only difference is that my team has regular legionnaires, while the opponents have armored legionnaires. This is probably the perfect situation for Alexander's cavalry, coming in from the rear to the already fighting melee infantries, weakening them and doing a lot of charge impact, and in the end finally routing them. So when the routed opponent is killed, I'm switching to the next opponent, and so. At the same time, there are opponents at our base. That should be my next focus. In overall, these games that I'm showing have been rather well. There haven't been any archers or slingers that have been significant towards me, and most opponents haven't focused me. So here I made a little charge into the opponents. I wanted to see how well it goes. It didn't go that well. I was expecting a bit more damage from the regular formation. So I think the Wedge and the Anvil combination can be rather viable right now. Combining it up, sending one unit in and flanking with the two. With combining the Anvil and the Wedge, the damage is just huge. So for consumables, I prefer the charge impact bonus of the War Steeds, or what's it called. The Wedge formation seems to make a lot of difference, or at least in some situations. Stacking it can help, can improve your devastating impact damage. In overall, I have to say that the changes made in 2.4, especially the Anvil, make a lot of difference compared to how the cavalry worked. Right now I honestly feel the difference, while before that I felt that it was better to just charge with a regular formation. Or perhaps I just got lucky and it seems to me that way. Who knows? But as I said, the last time I played Alexander the Great with the cavalry was around a month, or perhaps even nearly 2 months ago. I even feel that Alexander is a lot better. I haven't tried him out with infantry, because, well, you can't use the Wedge formation, and Hammer and Anvil might work, but then again, you only have Spearmen or Pikemen to use. So main things with Alexander are, well, the usual thing is never to go against pikes or spears, at least not head on. Charging in from the rear can be viable if the opponent is already engaged, but you just need to be careful so that you don't lose too many men. What you need to note is that Alexander is shock cavalry, meaning that it's not meant to stay engaged for too long, and also that the main damage from him comes from the charge or the impact. So going head on against opponents might not be as strong as coming from the sides or the rear. Usually it is not viable to leave Alexander in melee combat, but you can make it viable if you charge in from the rear and you see that the opponent's morale is shaking. If you see that the opponent's morale is low after the charge, you can pick all of your units that are nearby and force it to attack them. That way giving you a better chance to rout them. Probably the biggest thing you need to be aware about with Alexander is the nearby archers or other form of ranged units. Those will do a lot of damage towards you. Slingers or archers doesn't matter because you don't have any significant arrow block. And when the archers or slingers are focusing you, you don't want to stay stacked, otherwise you will take huge damage from barrage or just the regular archer fire. Try to flank where you can, and remember, your charge impact can be really devastating. So this was it about the review of Alexander the Great. Anyways, don't forget to subscribe and thanks for watching.